Hello and welcome to New York Times Hard Sudoku. Today is December 21st, the shortest day of the year, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. And I give you the New York Times Hard Sudoku. I'm also going to be very busy the next 3 or 4 days. I'm going to record about 10 to 12 videos, and I will schedule their publication on YouTube because I'm going to embark on a 2,000-kilometer long motorcycle trip up through Vietnam towards Laos and then back. And it will be a trip that will take about 12 to 14 days. You know, we don't travel fast in Vietnam. The roads just aren't good enough for it. And during that time, I will not be able to record any videos because I will travel light. Those remarks out of the way, let's look at these two ones and plug in a one here, shall we? There's a couple of 8s here blocking these cells here. And there's an 8 here blocking these two cells, so that forces an 8 into this cell. And now one of these two cells will have to be an 8. This 4 forces a 4 to go in one of these two cells, and for these 3 cells we need to find a 4 now, and having the 4 in these 2 rows forces a 4 to go here. I'm also noticing that this 4 and this 4 forces a 4 in one of these 2 cells, and therefore in one of these 2 cells in row 4. There is a 9 here that forces a 9 into one of these 2 cells, and therefore a 9 will have to go into one of these 2 cells in this box here. And it can't go here because there is a 9 already in this row, so this must be a 9. We need to find still a 2, 6, and a 5 for these 3 cells. There's a 2 here, and there's a 6 here, and that makes this a 5. And these two now have to be a 2 and a 6 in some order. And that revelation puts a 2 in this cell, doesn't it? Because if a 2 has to go in one of these 2 cells, it follows that it can't go here. And we've got this 2 and this 2 blocking these 2 cells. They can't be a 2 either. Therefore, this must be a 2. Now, this 2 and this 2 and the 2 here forces a 2 to go into this cell here. And this 2 and this 2 now puts a 2 here. And this 2 and a ghost 2 here and a 2 here forces a 2 to go here. And this now must be a 4 because the 4 here blocks these 2 cells, doesn't it? And these 2 cells now have to be an 8 and a 9. A 1, 5, and a 7 for this row. There's a 7 and a 1 here blocking this cell, so this must be a 5. These two are now a 1, 7 pair. So we should ask ourselves that if these two have to be a 2 and a 6, what then do we still need for these 4 cells? So a 2 and a 6, we still need to find a 1, 3, 5, and a 7. Look at this. There's a 1, 3, 7 in this row, so this must be a 5. I'm just now noticing that these 1 and 7 pair here can be resolved easily because there's already a 1 in this column. Therefore, this must be a 7 and this must be a 1. And now we seem to have, yes, this 1 blocking these 3 cells, this 1 up here blocking these 2 cells, and this 1 here blocking these 2 cells. Therefore, this cell must be a 1. And now we seem to have a 1, 7 pair here. Yes, we got a 1, 7 here, we got a 1, 7 here. We need to have a 1, 7 for these 3 cells here. And this cell already is blocked by a 1, 7. So these have to be a 1, 7 pair. And those two here being a 2, 6 makes this a 3, doesn't it? This 1 and this 1 block these two cells and this cell, and therefore this must be a 1. So in addition to the 4 that needs to go in one of these two cells, the other digit is going to be a 6, because that's the only other digit missing from this row. I'm noticing that these two cells here can't be an 8 because of these two 8s. And this 8 prevents an 8 from going here. So one of these two cells will have to be an 8. These two 7s force a 7 to go here. And therefore a 7 will have to go here or here along with one of the two 7s here. Of course, one of these will have to be a 1 because of these two 1s here. These two 7s account for 7s in rows 1 and 2. We need to find a 7 for row 3, and it can't go in any of these three cells because of the 7 already in this box. And it can't go here either because of this 7 here. So this cell must be a 7. And now this 4 is blocking this cell. So a 4 for this row 3 must go either here or here. And for the top row, there's a 4 blocking this cell, these two cells, and there's a 4 blocking these two cells. So a 4 for the top row must go in one of these two cells. And therefore a 4 cannot go here, and a 4 must go here, as I said earlier, together with an 8. The two remaining digits will have to be a 3 and a 9, but I can't place them just now. So these two being a 4 and a 6, we still need to find a 2, 5, 3, and a 9. There's a 2 here and there's a 2 here. So one of these will have to be a 2. There's a 9 here and there's a 9 here. So the other digit for these two cells will have to be a 9. So a 9 here and a ghost 9 here will put a 9 in one of these two cells. That's just for later reference because right this instance I can't really use that information for anything. But it will enable me to close in on some other digits because if these have to be a 2 and a 9, I still need to find a 3, 5, 6, and an 8 for this cell, this cell, this cell, and this cell. So for example, this is a 3 and it blocks this cell, a 2, 9 block these two cells. So one of these, well, actually this cell must be a 3 because we have a 3 here, we have a 3 here. And now one of these two cells will have to be a 3. And I believe now we can place an 8 in this cell because this 8 blocks this cell. Therefore, one of these two cells here must be an 8. So a ghost 8 here and an 8 here forces an 8 in one of these two cells. And we have already agreed that an 8 will have to go in one of these three cells because it can't go here because of this 8. So this is where the 8 must go now. And we also agreed, I think, that a 4 will have to go in one of these three cells because a 4 can't go here either due to this 4. And since there is a 4 here, this cell now becomes a 4. This 4 and this 4 and this 4 forces a 4 into this cell. And as we remember, the other digit for this row had to be a 6. It must go here. So now these two have to be an 8 and a 6 because we have a 6 and an 8 here, right? So they can't go here. And that leaves only a 5 for this cell. Now we need a 5 and a 6 for these two cells, and there's a 6 in this box. So this cell here must be a 5, and this therefore a 6. And now we have a 5, 3 here, we have a 5, 3 here, and this is now a 5, 3, except this can't be a 5 due to the 5 here. So the 5 here and the 3 here, and that puts, of course, a 9 in this cell. And remember the 8, 9 here? This is now a 9 and this is an 8. Remember the two 8s here because we have an 8 here and here, right? Now we have an 8 blocking this cell. Therefore, this must be an 8. A 4 and a 5 now to complete row 1. There's a 4 in this column. So this must be a 5 and this must be a 4. And these two 4s now makes this cell a 4. The last cell in this row is going to be a 9. And this 9 and this 9 here forces a 9 to go here. And then now one of these two will have to be a 9. These two cells have to be a 6 and a 3. There's a 3 in this column, so the 6 goes here and the 3 here, making this a 3, of course, and making this a 3. No further explanation necessary, I think. This last cell needs to be a 6, making this a 6, making this an 8, making this an 8, and now this one must be a 1. And the last cell here is going to be a 7, making this a 7 and this a 1. These are still 2 and 6, right? And these now have to be a 2 and a 9. This cell, okay, we can do something with this, I'm sure. It needs to be a 6. And that will put a 6 here, the 2 here, and 2 here. This one now has got to be a 9, and that puts a 9 in this cell, and the last digit is a 5. I agree with those of you who would say that this is not really a hard puzzle, but if you attempt to solve it without using pencil marks, some beginner and intermediate players might find it a challenge, and that's why I included it in my uploads. I thank you for watching and hope to see you back here again soon. Bye for now.